Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 kill team review, where today I'm going over the Vespid Stingwing kill team, the new kill team found in Hivestorm for 3rd edition. Before we get into things, thanks goes to Games Workshop for providing this to review for free. As always, aim to be impartial, constructively critical and honest. And remember, I've got please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you think of the Vespids in the review. And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, an affiliate link on Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support as well. But yeah, I'm reviewing the Vespid Stingwings as found in Killsteam Hivestorm. You can also get their rules for free, I believe, now on Warhammer Community if you're watching this on release day. So let's get on with the review. So the Vespid Stingwing are a 10 operative kill team, not 11. They have the Vespid leader, who is the strain leader. They are forced into taking the Oversight drone, who is the sassiest drone to ever live. And then you have 8 other Vespids to take, including the Long Sting, the Shade Strain, the Sky Blast, the Swarm Guard, and then Warriors. Other than Warrior Operatives, you can only have the other specialists once, and they get Recon and Seek and Destroy. Seek and Destroy isn't so good, but really good with Recon there. And once again, you've got all the Operatives shown, so you get to see what Operatives are before you get to their data cards. And then you've also got the QR code in the top right of the screen, where you can scan that to get a link to Warhammer Community to get the free rules, which is really good. So for their faction rules, they have quite a lot. So you have Neutron Charge first. So neutron weapons are any weapons that have the word neutron in their name. Whenever a friendly operative moves or uses the fly action, its neutron weapons have the piercing 1 weapon rule until the end of the turning point. So normally your weapons don't have piercing 1. You move, it's on until the end of the turning point. So great for counteracting, guarding, really, really good. Then you have Communion. They are the most holy and religious of all Xenos bugs. So Communion points are used to maintain the tactical focus of Vespid Stingwing operatives. In the ready step of each strategy phase, remove all Communion points from the previous turning point. Then you gain D3 plus 1 if a friendly Oversight drone is in the kill zone. Communion points are used as follows. The Oversight drone is unaffected by the following. Whenever a friendly Vespid operative is performing the shoot action, it can only target the closest enemy operative within 8 inches of it, excluding enemy operatives within control range of other friendly operatives, unless you spend 1 of your Communion points. For weapons with the Blast and Torrent special rules, only the first target must be selected this way, so you don't have to spend another Communion point for each other preceding target. This can be quite limiting, but you can get around this by just charging those operatives. So there's ways around that one. Whenever a friendly Vespid operative performs a charge action, it must finish the action with the control range of the closest enemy operative, unless you spend 1 of your Communion points. Obviously, if they're 2 operatives suddenly exactly in the same distance, you just pick. So that can be limiting if you're trying to get around 1. And then for free, when you perform the pickup marker or mission action with a friendly Vespid Stingwing operative, you must spend 1 of your Communion points to do so. So you cannot do mission actions or pickup actions. Oddly, you can drop if you're carrying it, unless you spend a Communion point, which is quite restrictive. And then whenever a friendly Vespid operative is shooting, you can spend 1 and only 1 of your Communion points to reroll 1 attack dice. Now, I will be speaking quite bluntly here. You will never use 4, maybe in a prior edition or like version of these rules when they've got like 2d6 Communion points. Of course, sure, you would use 4. You are not using 4. If you have used 4, you have just gone like, I'm not playing any mission actions today. I'm Mr. Kill Vespid. And if you have, that's great. But for most players, you're using them for 1, 2, or 3. This is quite limiting, but there are ways around it as we go on. Then they have Fly. So Fly is no longer a core special rule. It's a kill team rule, which is very helpful. So whenever a friendly Vespid operative performs an action in which it moves, it can fly. If it does, don't move it. Instead, remove it from the kill zone and set it back up wholly within distance equal to its move stat, or 3 inches if it was a dash of its original location, measuring the horizontal distance only. Note it gains no additional distance when performing the charge action. So you could still charge, but if you choose to use Fly, you can only charge 6 inches. If you charge normally, you're charging 8 inches. So that's a trade-off you have to remember. It must be set up in a location it can be placed. Unless it's the charge action, it cannot be set up within control range of enemy operatives. In a kill zone that uses the close quarters rules, you cannot measure the distance over or through wall terrain, and that operative cannot be set up on the other side of an access point. In other words, it cannot fly through open hatchways. It controls its wings and just walks through, because Vespid are civilized insects, I'll have you know. So they're actually quite limiting. on into the dark because they just like casually stroll through doors, or you just dash through the doors. You know, it's fine. Although you are like banging like community points, please open the door. That's what the ethereals are doing. But otherwise, fly is still very good. And I like how they've balanced it so you can fly charge, unlike what the Warhammer community article says. Just have to be careful with how you do it. So for Ploys, you have Hardened Exoskeleton. Whenever a friendly operative, excluding the oversight drone, is fighting or retaliating, normal damage of 4 or more inflicts 1 less damage on it. This is very good for certain opponents. It only works on normal damage, but it's really good on stuff that's like 4-5 or something. But otherwise, it's a very niche but useful strategy ploy. Then you have Aerial Agility. Whenever an operative is shooting at a friendly Vespid while counteracting, or during an activation in which that shooting operative moved or was set up, roll 1d6 whenever a normal success would inflict damage. On a 5-up, ignore that inflicted damage. A maximum of 1 attack dice can be ignored per shooting sequence. So this is after your defense dice and is actually very powerful. You're probably going to use this a lot because let's say someone shoots you with no AP. You are likely to roll 1 success on 3 dice, blocking 1 hit. And then if they've got 3 other dice, you then potentially block one of their normals. So that's actually very, very useful. You're probably popping this from turning point 2 onwards because that's when you're doing your aggression. So this is actually very, very good. Airborne Predators. Whenever a Vespid operative moves or uses the fly during its activation, its weapon have the balanced weapon roll till the end of that activation. Very, very good. You're always using Airborne Predators. Airborne Predators is like permanently on from turning point 2 because you need balanced and you're generally always going to be moving or shooting. Remember, if you move or dash 1 inch, that triggers Airborne Predators. So go ahead. Then you've got Sting. Friendly operatives' claws have the lethal 5-up and shock weapon special rules. So especially when combined with hardened exoskeletons, if people are trying to like parry you out, all of a sudden your lethal 5-up, 3 attacks, you're like -1 damage if they're doing 4 or more on a normal hit. Very, very good. Like generally you're always popping Airborne Predators and probably Aerial Agility. Then depending on the opponent, you're popping Sting and or hardened exoskeleton. Then for firefight ploys, you've got Ocelli. Use this firefight ploy when a friendly operative performs a shoot action during an activation in which it has used fly. Until the end of that action, when selecting a valid target, treat that friendly operative as being 3 inch on a vantage terrain higher than it currently is, i.e. it benefits from the second rule of vantage. So people may go like, oh, that's okay. But if I walk up to someone and I'm within 2 inches, I just get this anyway. And I'm like, you are completely right. But the best benefit is it works from any point on the kill zone. So you could like move, levitate and shoot. Or what you could really do, you've got this neutron grenade launcher. You can run up to someone's face. Let's say you run up into a bunch of 2 or 3 operatives. You spend a Ocelli. So now you count as being 3 inches higher during your shoot action. And then you shoot them in the face. You're within 2 inches. Well, you wouldn't be within 2 inches, but you would have the vantage rule. So you would hit everyone. They would all be in cover and whatever. But you've run point blank into someone and then just like hit everyone. It's very, very good. Or what you could also do is like it's just walking up into someone's face, even in the open, and point blanking them effectively without getting blasted back by your own damage. So Ocelli is very, very good, and it's something you're likely popping every turn, especially as your weapons will also get accurate 1. And remember, if you have 2 sources accurate 1, you get accurate 2, so it can be very useful on key warriors. Then you've got Darting Flight. Use this firefight ploy when a friendly operative performs a reposition action. Until the end of that action, it can move an additional D3 or be set up an additional D3 away if it uses fly. In either case, it cannot perform the fight or shoot actions for the rest of the turning point. There's actually quite a huge, huge setback. Not only can you not shoot or fight, you can't do it for the rest of the turning point, so it means you can't counteract for like offensively, but it's really good if you wanted to steal a point. But I don't think you're going to use Darting Flight that much. Then you've got Neutron Overload. Use this firefight ploy when you have when you resolve a critical success for a friendly operative that is shooting with a neutron weapon in an action which it moved or has fly. If the target is within 4 inches of it, inflicts D3 additional damage. So this is probably you're going to do into like big chunky opponents or stuff you've rolled hot into, because you could just ensure them dead. And because you've got so many ways to trigger this, you're going to use this a lot. It's very useful for your special weapons with neutron, like the Neutron Blast. So it's a nice tech piece when you roll hot. Then you've got Vicious Venom. Use this firefight ploy when a friendly operative, excluding the drone, is fighting and strikes with a critical success. Inflict D3 additional damage. So this is just a nice way to ensure more death into 8 wound opponents, but you're probably not using Vicious Venom too much because you've probably played Sting in that turn as well. But I can definitely see you using Neutron Overload on the Selly so much. For Operatives, we've got your leader who is 2 APL, 6-inch move, 5 up save and 10 wounds. It has a Neutron Blaster, which is 4 attacks, 8 on 3s, 3/3 devastating 2, and then Claws, which are 3 attacks, 8 on 4s, 3/4. Has a Communion Helm, so once during each of this Operative's activation, you can spend 1 Communion point for free because the Ethereals are talking to him. So you basically now get D3 plus 2 Communion points because your leader gets 1 for free, so there's some play around that. You've got Commune. When selecting friendly Operatives for battle, also select 1 Vespid strategy ploy. Whenever this operative is in the kill zone and not within control range of enemy operatives, that ploy costs 0 CP. So your leader always ensures airborne predators is free from turning. You could just pop it turning point 1 onwards for free. He's so clutch. You always take your leader, always take it with the reroll ploy, like the balanced on your guns. Just so useful. You're kind of probably going to be quite conservative with your leader, but it's a very, very good leader. Then you have your Oversight Drone, the most sassiest drone in the whole game of Kill Team. I wouldn't have done that, fellow Vespid, but I tried warning you. So it has 2 APL, 8-inch move, 2 up save, and 5 wounds. It's the little drone that could. It has a ram, which is 3 attacks, 8 on 5s, 1/2. And then it's an evasive drone. So this operative cannot perform any other actions other than aerial guidance, charge, dash, fall back, fight, and reposition. So you can fight and kill people with this drone. I wouldn't advise it unless you're brave. Whenever determining control for the objective markers, it's treated as being 1 lower, so it's basically 1 APL. When determining what's visible, you use the round disc as its head. Whenever this operative has a conceal order in cover, it has super conceal, so basically always in conceal. And whenever an operative is shooting at this operative, whenever someone's shooting at this operative, ignore piercing. So it's a 2-up invulnerable save. This thing won't die to shooting. You have to kill it in melee, which is funny because it's so useless. So you've got aerial guidance. It's a support ability until the start of this operative's next activation. Whenever another friendly operative is visible and within 6, shooting in an enemy operative visible to this operative, that friendly operative's range weapon have the saturate weapon rule. This has no effect while this operative is within control range of enemy operatives. You can't do well in control range. So the range on this is quite good because this just buddies up with like your sniper or one of your other specialists and just go, yeah, I can see that. He's not in cover. And then especially when you're shooting with your blasts, really, really useful. So you pair it, you just like put it somewhere annoying. And because it just has to be within 6 and visible, it's actually pretty good. So it's really good at setting up key targets to kill. Then you've got your Vespid Long Sting. So it has the standard profile for the kill team of 2 APL, 6-inch move, a 5 up save, and 9 wounds. Has the Neutron Rail Rifle, which is standard. 4 attacks, 8 on 4s, 4/4, devastating 2, Neutron Fragment. So the Neutron Fragment is if this target is incapacitated but you resolved any attack dice, the target gains 1 of your Neutron Fragment tokens. In the ready step of each strategy phase, inflicts D3 damage for each neutron token it has. So basically, if it doesn't kill anyone, as long as it hits, they take D3 damage at the start of the next strategy phase. And remember, as long as it moves, it goes to piercing 1. Then the aimed profile is 4 attacks, 8 on 3s, 4/4, devastating 2, heavy dash only, lethal 5 up, neutron fragment. So this thing is very likely to kill with the aimed profile, but it doesn't have a silent mode. So you're going to have to be quite brave, either firing it last or just going like moving into position turning point 1, then turning point 2 going kabam, and then like dashing away. Otherwise, this operative is good. You are always saving 1 communion point for it, so it just doesn't shoot the closest operative. Otherwise, it's good. Like, it's a very nice operative. Make sure you kill what you fire or are happy to lose it after you fired. Then you've got the Shade Strain. So this is 2 APL, a 6-inch move, and a 3 up save and 9 wounds. Has a Neutron Sting, which is a 4 attacks, 8 on 4s, 3/3, range 8, devastating 2 neutron weapon. So that's a pistol effectively. Then it has a Neutron Grenade, which is 4 attacks, 8 on 4s, 3/3, range 6, blast 2, devastating 2, limited 1, saturate. So it's a super grenade, which is really good. Then you've got Claws, which are the same. So it has the Ghost Rig, because it's a mini ghost kill. While this operative has a conceal order, your opponent can then select it as a valid target unless it's within 6 inches of that operative trying to target. No, the rule has no effect if this operative is not selected a valid target, such as blast. Then has Camouflaged. Whenever an operative is shooting this operative, ignore the piercing weapon rule, and all cover saves are retained as critical successes. This rule has no effect if this operative is not selected as a valid target. So your Vespid Shade Strain is immune to piercing, has a 3-up invulnerable save, and just wants to get close and murder people. So there's something very interesting that me and Travis from Just Another Kill Team podcast developed. We like to call it the Shade Wall. So the Shade Strain is great, but if you take the portable barricade and you move into position with the portable barricade, because it increases your save by 1, currently at the time of recording on launch, that would give your Vespid Shade Strain a 2-up armor save, and when you move, we haven't fully figured out. We think you can still fly 4 inches with the portable barricade, but otherwise you have to move 4 inches with the portable barricade. But you set up in position with a 2-up armor save, or 2-up invulnerable save on conceal. People have to get within 2 inches to shoot you effectively. It's great. It becomes the wall, the shade wall. The shade wall is good. The shade strain is good regardless, but the shade wall tactic is really funny and oddly really, really good into Tempestus Aquilons. But I really love the shade strain. It's great. Then you have the Sky Blast. This is the Mr. War Crimes. So it's the neutron grenade launcher, 4 attacks, 8 on 4s, free, blast 2, devastating 2, neutron bombardment. So neutron bombardment, place one of your neutron fallout markers within the primary target's control range, and then neutron fallout. Once during each enemy operative's activation, as soon as it was within 2 inches of one of your neutron fallout markers, inflict D3 damage on it. Multiple markers aren't cumulative, but as long as you've hit, you place a marker. And if it's someone who's activated, when they next activate, they'll take D3 damage. And it's really good when you hit a blast, and once when you're using a Selly, you can move into like a bunch of 2 operatives, or 2 or 3 operatives, and just fire at their feet. It's really, really good. So good. It just does a lot of chip, and it's a shame it's not 5 attacks, but I think 4 attacks with the damage it does, especially when you remember it goes to piercing 1 when you move, and it's got dev 2, very, very good. Then you've got the Swarm Guard, who has the Flamer with the standard profile, 4 attacks, 8 on 2s, free, range 8, saturate, torrent 2, which is normal. Then Sky Torch, which is 4 attacks, 8 on 2s, free, Sky Torch, and Claws. So Sky Torch, an operative can only use this weapon during an activation in which to perform the reposition with fly. If it does so, do not select a valid target. Instead, shoot against each operative within its torch zone, excluding operatives wholly underneath vantage terrain. They are not in cover or obscured. Roll each sequence separately in order of furthest to closest. The torch zone is the area between the operative's current and previous location. 28 mil round scorched marker can be used to temporarily place under this operative before it moves to help determine this. So this is good into hordes, but the way I use the Swarm Guard isn't to kill stuff, it's to finish stuff off. So like, let's say you neutron blast like 3 or 4 operatives and you chip them down, then you can do the Sky Torch. The main problem with the Sky Torch is because it's a shoot action, it's like you can't dash and then Sky Torch, you can only move in Sky Torch, so it becomes very hard to use it, which is quite frustrating. If you could use it during the ploy that gives you D3 extra movement, I'd go, okay, maybe I'd use this with Sky Torch. So the problem is it's only really good into hordes. I would probably drop the Swarm Guard with a warrior into elites. It's nice, it's just the Sky Torch isn't that great. If it had like an 8-inch move when he did it, it would be much better. But at the moment it's just okay. Probably would have been much better if it had the Neutron special rule, but I guess they probably thought that would have been too powerful. Then you've got the Vespid Warrior, who is actually quite clutch. So you have a Neutron Blaster, which is 4 attacks in on 4s, free, devastating 2, and the Claws. So Warrior Instincts, whenever this operative is shooting, if you don't spend any communion points during that sequence, its Neutron Blast has the accurate 1 weapon roll until the end of that sequence. So if you didn't spend any communion points during that sequence, so you can't actually get accurate 2, which is unfortunate, so never mind. These guys are just like great. Like you walk up to someone, you go within 2 inches and go blam. Or use like 1 for mission caddies. Generally, they're just really effective. The problem is when they roll hot, they're amazing. If they roll poorly, you're going to hate them forever. And there's no middle ground, but they're actually really effective. Because they're just always P1, they're very good into elites, just chipping stuff and actually killing 7 wound operatives. So I really like them. But it's kind of the Vespid problem as a whole, where if they roll hot, they're absolutely broken. If they don't, they're just depressing. Then for faction equipment, you have Neurostimulant. In the ready step of each strategy phase, when determining how many communion points to gain, you roll 2d3 and select the highest to use, or whenever one. You always take this just because you really want, like, you have, I think, a 12% chance of rolling double ones, but you really want this. You always have to take this, unfortunately. Then you've got Convergent Stimulant. Once during per turning point, a friendly operative can perform the pickup marker or mission action without spending communion. You also always take this because this effectively bumps you up by another communion point. Then you've got Accelerant Stimulant. Whenever a friendly operative, excluding the drone, performs a charge or dash action, it can move an additional inch. If it uses fly for this action, you can set up back 1 inch further away. So you always take Accelerant Stimulant because now it makes everyone charge 7 inches or dash 4 inches, which can actually be quite useful, especially when you're playing setup turning point 1. And then you've got Aggression Stimulant. Whenever a friendly Vespid operative is fighting, excluding the drone, its melee weapons have the Ceaseless special rule, so this is okay. So you're probably taking Neurostimulant, Convergent Stimulant, then maybe Accelerant Stimulant or Aggression Stimulant. I'm a big fan of the Shade Wall, so taking a portable barricade just because it's funny until they remove it. But because you have so much mobility, you could actually even experiment with taking maybe 2 cracks or 2 frags, but I don't think they really benefit from the cracks or frags. The stuns are interesting because you can just move and throw stuns and smokes at whoever you want. So you could use those to quite a good efficiency. But you always take Neurostimulant and Convergence. Then I recommend taking the portable barricade and then either usually the Accelerant Stimulant or like maybe something else from the Universal side. Once again, you have designer's commentary. I've already covered this in the Tempestus Aquilon review, but basically it gives you the theme behind the team, how it's supposed to play, tips and tricks, and it's like weaknesses and strengths, which is really useful, and hopefully it continues with other factions. Now, for a new section for my for my kill team reviews, we have what kill team to take. So the good thing, this is a 1-box kill team. You get 10 Vespid and a drone. I would have wished you could drop the oversight drone to take more Vespid, but we are not allowed to do that. So you always take the leader and you always take the Vespid, the drone, sorry. Then you take all specialists and then warriors. So that would leave you with 6 specialists and 4 warriors. Now, because you get 11 operatives in the box, I would also paint up a 5th warrior. And if you're playing into elites, I would drop the Swarm Guard for another warrior. Just because in that matchup, I believe against elite kill teams, the warrior adds more than the Swarm Guard. Now you can argue the Swarm Guard is more likely and reliable to get 4 hits, so it's always going to do at least 3 damage to a Marine. But on the flip side, the Vespid Warrior always has Accurate 1, it will have P1 and Dev 2, so for every crit you roll, it's doing an additional 2 damage to the Marine, and I think in that matchup, you need more burst damage because you're really hoping to roll hot and either like cripple or murder a Marine. So that's the only situation. So basically run all specialists and 4 warriors against most opponents. Into elites, I would probably drop the the Swarm Guard, sorry, for another warrior. But thankfully, it's all in one box, so you can pretty much do that already. Pretty straightforward. So for the Vespid overview, they are really good. I think the problem is they're definitely the more difficult kill team to play from the Hivestorm box. The problem is they have a very high skill ceiling and will be quite hard to play at first. So I know people are a bit upset about the communion point system, but as I said, you get D3, well, 2 D3 picking the highest because you have to take that equipment point. Then you get 1 for your oversight drone. So you're minimum getting 2. And then you've got the equipment that lets you use a communion point for doing pickup or mission actions for free. So that's technically free. And then your leader gets 1 during their activation for free. So that's 4. So at worst, you have 2 for 1 for your sniper and 1 for your grenade launcher. And then you have 2 to play around with for doing mission actions from your leader and another warrior. So you have a lot of freedom in terms of how to play, especially with only 3 objectives, and that you don't really need to do mission actions until turning point 2. The only problem is on Into the Dark. This kill team is a lot weaker on Into the Dark, especially where they have to open doors to get through because they have to open, using communion points to open doors and then walk through doors or dash through doors because they can't fly through doors. But the mobility of this team is really good. The other main problem is if they roll hot, they are amazing because like if they start rolling 1 or 2 crits during their activation, when they're shooting, they're just murdering stuff. But the problem is if you don't roll any crits or you just roll like 2 normal hits, they're very underwhelming. But you've got that balance ploy to, make amends around that. I think they just have a lot of tricks. That 9 wounds actually makes them quite durable to an extent. And they just have a lot of tricks. If you master them all, I think you could be very, very good. They play recon quite well. Seek and Destroy isn't great for this kill team, but isn't great for a lot of kill teams. And yeah, I don't really think the communion point is that much of a weakness. If you plan around it, you should be okay. Your leader's giving you a free strategy ploy every turn, so it's usually the balanced one. And yeah, you just start swarming. And remember, you can use tactical movements, like if you don't want to expend a communion point, you can just shoot someone with your normal warrior, then charge the closest operative. So then that frees up the operative you want to shoot at someone else. So there's ways around it. You still have to remember that your effective instinctive behavior can be quite limiting, but you also have a few ways to cheese around it. And as I said, you can oddly throw smoke and stuns irrespective of your communion restriction, which is funny. And I do think the Shade Strain is just so good, especially when you combine it with a portable barricade. But it's an interesting kill team. It's very, very strange. Like, yeah, it's just going to be like, can you roll hot or not? Can you roll a crit? Right? But they are very fun. And it's interesting. Like, they're going to be great on Beta Decima. They're going to be great on Vocus. Into the Dark, I need to play them more on, but they are very interesting to me. They can be quite unpredictable, which is very good when you're trying to play this game at a higher level of play. But obviously, starting off, it's going to be quite difficult, especially into the Scions, until you learn to just do nothing for 2 turning points. But it's a very cool and fun kill team. Very thematic and more balanced than I thought it was originally, because I originally got very upset when I first read this kill team, because I assumed they had 11 operatives, and then I was like, oh yeah, they're fine. I really wish you could drop the oversight drone for another warrior, but that's me, because I'm like, don't need no drones, even the sassy oversight drone. But that's pretty much it for me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Did you like my kill team review, and did you like my new additions? Remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, and a Affiliate Element Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support, and I'll quickly shout my patrons. So for my adepts of the crew, I have Tom, Super Cow, Steven, Sam, Nick, Mr. Meatwad, Mercenary Q, Lucas, John Thomas, Graham, Fangzoo, Dave Meatsworld, Dad of Goldens, Chris, and then for my veterans of the crew, I have Samja and Ryan. So thank you so much for all your support. It really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. But yeah, I'm busily painting through all my kill teams. I've got other reviews you can check out. I'm currently painting them green like Scyther. If I can pull it off, I need to find a mini Pokeball. I'm having a lot of fun with the Vespid. They're really, really cool. I like them a lot. They're like buzzy bees. Technically they're wasps, but they're bees. I'm going to get the bee dice for their communion points. They're just a lot of fun. They're just really fun to play and really cool to paint. They actually take contrast really well. But remember, no matter how many communion points you have, there's always a chance to win, as long as you can roll a crit.